We're here with Game Time with Doc, Lurch, and Greg here on the Gamer Sue's web channel. As you can see on the screen, you're not seeing my cam today. I'm a little sick, so I'm going to be quiet through most of the show. I'll step in when I can, but as I'm busy coughing up a couple of lungs, I'm pretty sure you guys don't hear all that, so I'll be on mute most of the time. But we're going to do a quick sound check. Before we get all started, let me also bring up my monitor on my phone so I know how many people are in channel before we get going. Almost forgot to
Chuck.
do that. Okay. Monitor's up. All right, now let's go ahead and do a sound check. So bring up the sound check board. And check 1 2, check 1 2. And check 1 2, check 1 2. And check 1 2, check 1 2. And you guys say something?
I can say something.
You guys say something?
Hello.
I can say
You
something.
guys say something?
Hello.
I can say something.
guys-
You know,
Yep.
something I need to invest in is a little a thing to hold my mic, because it's just kind of sits on the desk, and it'd free up so much space for me if I could, and not risk knocking it over.
Mine's a built-in mandible resonance mic, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay. Anyway, we're here with Game Time with Doc, Lurch, and Greg. As those who don't know, we are here every Wednesday from 8 to 10 o'clock, if not a little bit later, depending on what we're talking about. And we talk about everything and anything in the nerdosphere here, especially involving the Springfield, Missouri nerd community. We are representatives of Eclectic Endeavors, which is the group that hosts the Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo and the Picnic at the End of the Universe, among other special events, such as Game Night at Holdfast Brewing Company, which was last Wednesday, third Wednesday of every month. Greg actually physically is there as our host for that one, so he's not here to broadcast on those days. But that's one of the things we do. We also, all three of us, broadcast on Twitch different times during the week, different kinds of content that is of interest to the nerdy community. And we come together basically to remind people that although game is not physically happening right now, we'll update you if anything changes. We're still here. We're still thinking about everybody, and we still got nerdiness on our mind. So let's see here. Anyway, I'm going to turn the show mostly over to Greg and Philip this week so that they can pretty much kind of dominate the airwaves, and I'll be quiet. I know normally I dominate it, so be a total different ball of wax for them. Let me put myself on mute, and you guys get ready to go.
All right. Greg, you want to go first? You want me to go first with the first story?
I can lead.
All right.
The first thing I've got is just a little bit of community content that I found made for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Talked last time about some professional projects that a fellow was doing, but this one was just to raise awareness for disability in tabletop RPGs. Somebody made I put the link in the thread so you can post that. Somebody made a paladin oath called the Oath of Accessibility, and it includes abilities that encourage communication and mobility and the ability to act beyond one normal means, even for able-bodied people. And there's also rules for a combat wheelchair, which is just awesome on the face of it.
Combat wheelchair?
Combat wheelchair.
Is there artwork for a combat wheelchair? I want to see that.
Let me share my screen. This is free on if you go to the link, so this isn't like boiling anything or whatever. What you're streaming. go live. Okay. Is that? No, that opened a new window.
Yeah, it made a visible space that I can see what you're sharing,
But
and
we
I can
can't put
see
it up on the.
Doc would have to put it up for the others to see.
Huh.
I don't know if he'll do it at the moment, but I do see the image that you're looking at. That is pretty cool. Okay.
That's okay. If you're watching, if you follow the link, you can download the thing for free. There's another PDF for an for a paladin of accessibility NPC. So you can, if you're a GM and you want to broach that subject and have that kind of inclusivity, then you can include that character in your game.
Yeah, dnddisability.com.
Yes.
I like that name too. That's pretty cool.
I like seeing content from people who aren't straight white guys. I like getting perspectives from different communities and cultures. Given the opportunity.
I think you're sharing there it is. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. Given the chance, I'd play characters of different backgrounds if I felt comfortable doing it. So it's nice to see that those options are getting highlighted and put forward, and not just in a token way of, oh, there's a blacksmith and they've got a peg leg, but something that's a character option.
Yeah. And you get some benefits for some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awesome. Do they have I'm sure they got some special abilities and everything too attributed that fit along with some of these.
They have an expanded spell list, again emphasizing things like mobility, expeditious retreat, sanctuary, rope trick, freedom of movement, skill empowerment. Let's see,
Awesome.
what's their channel divinity? You can use your channel divinity to help remove barriers of communication. As a bonus action, anyone you can see within 20 feet of you is granted the ability to understand any spoken language they hear. All right, so you can't be in a situation where you can't communicate with people, because a big part of inclusivity is communication, which makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. There we go.
I remember. Yeah, I think you were certainly legally blind during that period. You got I think you kind of saw color a little bit, like shadow. Oh. Yeah, man. Yeah. Keep it going. Yeah.
I played a character in a Red Markets game, a post-apocalypse zombie game, who in the first scenario crit failed a spot check, got lunged at by a fast zombie, and lost it. The recovery literally cost my character an arm and a leg, and he wound up spending all the money that he'd made on that job on replacement prosthetics, and then spent the next few sessions getting acclimated to those. I was disappointed in myself for not doing enough research into how people with prosthetic limbs live, because I tried to find videos on YouTube to the effect of what does a day in the life of a person who uses prosthetics look like, and I found videos, but they were very much human interest pieces and not practical day-to-day, like, okay, how do you store your limbs when you're not using them? How do you maintain them? What goes into that?
Yeah, there's just not a lot of that information out and made available to the public. I think in the private sector, people that actually have prosthetic limbs, they probably have some specialty videos they share between themselves, but it's probably just not something they make available to just everybody as a matter of course. But I guess that's kind of,
I get,
in some ways, that's understandable too.
yeah, I guess that makes sense. The character was an EMP, and I did manage to find a YouTube channel that's basically just emergency med tech test cram videos, so that was cool.
All right, right. Well, let's see. What do you want to talk about first there, Lurch?
I figured we'd go on to a little game called Lost Souls Aside.
Lost Souls Aside. Okay, I've got that up on the screen.
Yeah. All right. So this game, a 17-minute trailer or gameplay footage just came out in the last couple of days. I think it came out yesterday, and I had a blast watching it. Anyone has any interest in like Final Fantasy 15 or Devil May Cry or action games with like a Japanese artistic design should definitely take a look at it. This game has one of the most inspiring development stories. It originally started as a one-man project. The guy who was working on it is a Chinese guy named Yang Bing. He was working on it all solo, and then in 2016 he put out a short video that showed a bit of what it looked like, and that video went viral enough that Sony then contacted him and gave him a bunch of money, and now it's a whole development studio team that they've now put together to finish making this game. And I remember watching the video back in 2016 whenever I was trying to get started on some indie video game development of my own, and I saw this video and I saw the video from 2016 at the time, a brand new video, and I was inspired. Like, I was awed by how beautiful a game being made by one guy could possibly look, and was really hoping that something would come of it. And now it is. It's coming up. Sony is publishing this, helping fund this game, and I think it's a 29-person studio now that's working on it to finish it out. They are aiming for a 2022 release date for PS4, PS5, and PC. It might come out to Xbox systems sometime later, but it's definitely coming to the PlayStation systems now with Sony, providing funding for it. And if you go and look at it, the person who made it, or the people who were making it, were inspired by, Devil May Cry 5. And they're inspired by Final Fantasy. I don't know if it's an older Devil May Cry, maybe, but they were inspired by those franchises. And you can see, like, in the visual style, how people look like they belong in a Final Fantasy game. But it's very high-paced action combat. And I just think it's incredible what can happen, Anybody, just one solo person had a passion, had a dream for a game he wanted to make. And now he's got this major project that's close to being finished and coming out for modern consoles that's getting a lot of attention now.
Yeah,
I saw the cover illustration, and I thought that was a character from Final Fantasy 15 at first.
Yeah,
They also referenced Bayonetta, which I've only just recently started playing, and I've played the Devil May Cry games too, most of them, and yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you like this guy's going around, and I don't know like the whole story of everything yet. You know, I only know what's been shown, but he's got like this little dragon head that's floating around him. It's like a spirit creature, and like in the trailer, he says he's like, or in the gameplay footage, he's like, you know, I'm not actually a dragon, right? I just choose to take this form because the way I like it. I could be the shape of anything I want. And then I think the guy throws some like insulting suggestion to him of what he could look like. He's like, "Ha, you think you're real funny? Like you could be a sheep or something, right?" Or
Did the
whatever it was.
gameplay footage give you any new Final Fantasy VII vibes? Especially since Sony is backing the project, I wonder if maybe that was an angle they're playing.
Not really, just a little bit, but not much.
Okay.
Just only in the sense of like the slashing stuff. It definitely gives gameplay. It gives a much more of a Devil May Cry vibe, and I think I read somewhere that somewhere along the line they ended up getting the music composer for the last couple Devil May Cry games to work on this for the music composing too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And so basically, this Bing Yang is getting everything he wants out of this, for this game. He's getting the resources and the team he wants to make this game off of what he's passionate about, and I think that's just phenomenal.
Small scale developers are starting to get more and more involved again. I mean, in the old days, there used to be small scale groups putting games together, but they didn't have to do as much. Now with the full motion graphics and the texturing and all the stuff that goes into new games, you need a huge crew to finish stuff. I mean, but it kind of puts me in mind like that Fractured MMO that I play has only got an 8 developer team. There's 8 people working on it. Yeah, and 5 of them are programmers. It's like, so it's that's their team, and it also puts me in mind of, like you mentioned and got me into it last week, Silicon Valley, the app developers in Silicon Valley, because they're just really small app developers, but then they ended up having to hire a bunch of programming engineers, basically, because they can't do it all themselves, even though the main guy does churn out a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. He does all the big breakthrough moments, and then everyone else fills in the gaps.
Everything directly involved with the algorithm is him. And then the one counterculture Satanist guy is really, really big about doing all his work by himself without a bunch of people underneath him. But they do still hire, at one point they have to hire like 50 other programmers and then work on trying to make them all work in that tiny space.
I mean, you either have to have a whole lot of people or a whole lot of time. Like even with this game, I think I read it was 29 people for a team, and that's still pretty small for a game of this with these kinds of visuals, right? But they've also been working on it since the video that went viral he put out in 2016. Right. I don't even know how long before that he was working on it. He might have been working on it for 3-4 years prior to that. And then in 2016 put out that video to try to drum up some interest in it, which it got a lot more than I think he expected, getting Sony's eyes on it. And and still been another 5 years of them working on it since then.
Well, it's like me. I backed this Fractured game like 4 or 5 years ago, and we're still in alpha testing. And we're going to be in alpha testing at least all through 2021 and possibly 2022 before we ever even get into beta. So, and they're an 8-man team. They need to get to the point where they can hire some extra people on that can do some, because they need to get some texture specialists and things. They're slowly refining stuff themselves. They're
game development is a long, complicated road.
Yes, it is. I mean, it took 10 years for them to come out with Diablo 3. You know, and this is from an already established company that had already done 2 iterations and how many freaking upgrades? Because each iteration had at least 1 or 2 extra content things in the original Diablo set, and they used already existing engines, you know, that they subcontracted from other engine developers or developed themselves, and then plugged and played their stuff into it, and still had to do all this stuff. It still took 10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Final Fantasy has used the same basic control schematic since the very beginning. You know, that turn-based control schematic.
They don't do the turn-based anymore.
They've improved upon it, and now they've got the non-turn-based. And I know the remastered had the non-turn-based, and I haven't played any of the 14 or 15, so I don't know. But for the longest time, they used it, and they still had a huge team working on it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and even with a lot of it staying the same, there's a lot involved with these games. I remember when I used to do beta testing for EverQuest, and when I beta tested for Planescape Torment, and those games, you know, or Daggerfall, which was one of the early Elder Scrolls games. You know, these were new revolutionary things, and they had tons of people working on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, this is becoming the age of the small developer, just like with everything else out there in the world, with Kickstarter and GoFundMe and all these other crowdsourcing things, allowing people to get some additional funding. More and more small developers are trying to dip their toe into the pond and bring us their offerings. And they're trying to individually, you know, independently publish stuff. And I mean, yes, most of them are hoping that they get picked up by somebody like Sony or Xbox for their games, because, you know, if you can get picked up by a console, you write your own ticket. But this guy, he won the console jackpot by being picked up by Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's console lottery right there.
I very much recommend everyone write down the name Lost Soul Aside, and then after the stream, you know, pull up the gameplay trailer. It's 17 minutes of awesome stuff. Like, if you have an inkling of liking action games, like high octane action games, you give it a watch. And then even if you don't like the game, watch it and be impressed by this is the project that was started by one guy in China that had a dream.
I'm going to play just a few minutes of the gameplay trailer just so people can see a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and more? So what are you waiting for? World's strongest man, Martinez Litzis, to help you break down bonds.
To get past the ad.
What am I gonna do?
Are you able to make the video screen a little bit bigger on it?
See all the ways you could save.
I can make it that.
You know, like you click.
I don't know how much you can see.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's just what I was looking for.
Oh, that's sharp.
Right? So yeah, so this this little first little bit is just like a little bit of cutscene for a few seconds, and then that's a little, not actually a dragon, but kind of looks like a dragon thing floating around him.
A draconic spirit.
Yeah. Some kind of a
教会已经效了攻击力，我猜你不会束手就擒。
Here's an enemy.
你不是他的对手，把身体给我，我来杀。
不必了，这个人不能死。
It kind of looks like video game Japanese anime. You know? See the spirit thing turns into a sword. You get the fight. And also,
got a little sense of the themes, considering that the bad guy is dressed in white and the good guy is in black.
Yeah.
要抓紧时间。
yeah, definitely getting those. Looks like a modular weapon system because he keeps alternating between like claw attacks and sword attacks.
So yeah, like I was watching this thing and it was so much fun. There's also some interesting traversal stuff that happens. Like there's a point where in this video a little bit later where he's like going down the tunnel and he's on top of the little spirit thing, and it's like, you know, skateboarding down basically, or sledding down while riding on it, do some stuff, and then he like leaps into the air, and then it like transforms with like little wings that helps him glide down safely across this leap.
Yeah,
Or
that's
helps him glide
amazing.
across to make the jump.
I love the aesthetics. I like what you said there, Greg, about how the good guys in black and the bad guys got the white
Yeah, the white
overtones in
and
his
gold.
class. And then actually, yeah, the good guys also, his color scheme is gold for his power attacks, and the good guys is red, which is also reversal because red is usually kind of seen as the evil, where gold would be considered good, gold or silver. So yeah, I love the reversal there, non-traditional color schemes. But
Yeah.
that's amazing! The that combat scene, and we didn't even go through that whole fight scene. And
Oh yeah, no,
I'm already ready to play it.
Right?
Yeah. I can't wait to learn more about the lore of like what these entities are and where they come from and how they bestowed this power. Because it looks like they're just changing the shape of their weapons with a thought. They're not wielding they're not wielding the weapons per se. They're just willing things to happen, and it looks amazing.
And it's fluid. It's fluid. It's amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
It's so fluid. It's incredibly fluid.
The dynamic changing of the weapons and the claws and as you see him running around and you get the little shadow dragon kind of shows up behind him as just a little bit of a shadow, but he's still the guy's sword, and that's just all amazing.
If it controls half as good as the footage makes it look like it does, it's gonna play like butter, man. It's gonna be incredible.
Oh, I can imagine a lot. The streaming community will be all over this game. The hardcore gamers community, any JRPGers will be absolutely fanatical about this action RPG. They will be all over it. Anybody who plays Final Fantasy, Devil May Cry, freaking all of that. If you're into anything with heavy swordplay and magic and that kind of level of detail, I can see this getting the Game of the Year award from PC Gamer Magazine. It'll have a good shot at it anyway.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking, usually when you hear about one name, one individual developer getting this much hype and resources piled on, it's usually a name like Hideo Kojima or something.
Right? Yeah.
To see that something like this has been developed this far by an individual, and then somebody was going to come along and...
This is the newer footage. This is the newer footage with the team helping them after Sony gave some funding.
But even the concept and the skeleton of what this was, of what would become this thing.
Yeah.
It's
if
mind
you were
blowing.
Sometime do a search for the older video. You'll see like the beginning of it started very similar with the little dragon thing floating around. His face has changed since the old version. It has a similar. The art style is the same. It's just far more polished and a lot more complex. The other video I think was shorter.
Oh, the refinement in this video is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this video makes it look like it's ready for market. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously,
they were
it's
planning,
not, but it looks like
they were
ready.
planning on a 2020 release, but with COVID and everything, it all got held back.
Yet another thing that COVID screws up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
People, we don't have a release date yet, but allegedly we are supposed to get more details later, sometime this week, later this week, maybe tomorrow, during some sort of event that's happening in China. where we might get more. We might get a release date then. We don't know yet.
Well, keep us up to date.
Yeah, we'll do. So
that's one. This is one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God, this is one to watch. I couldn't be quiet and not comment on that. This is a great game. Okay. I'm still not going to do any of my own real topics. I'll comment on some when I'm not coughing my lungs out. But
yeah, fair enough.
All right. What do you want to talk about next, there, Greg? You had the kind of related one with Healthy Gamer.
Yeah, I discovered this YouTube channel not too long ago, and they've been making videos for over a year. But it's run by a name. I don't know his last name because he goes by Dr. K. He's Indian, so I think he does that for the benefit of Western audiences that might have trouble pronouncing his name. But
Right.
He's a licensed psychiatrist who does live streams on his Twitch channel, which is also under a Healthy Gamer GG. And then oftentimes ports those into YouTube videos. He's been doing this for over a year. He's got full-length interview videos for people who consent to be interviewed one-on-one in front of a Twitch audience of a couple thousand people. I can't imagine doing that. That takes guts.
What? Like doing like therapy interviews?
Yeah,
on live stream,
like a 1 to 2, sometimes 2.5 hour live one-on-one live on Twitch. And he's interviewed people as high up the internet famous ladder as Pokimane, Jacksepticeye, Ethan from Crank Gameplays, and Unis Anas. He also does a bunch of smaller videos about specific subjects that aren't not talking to a person, but just things like motivation issues or social anxiety or what actually is depression. And
well,
I've been... Huh?
I was like, well, you guys remember I've used role-playing games to counsel people with social anxiety disorder. So this is somebody who's basically taking that and putting it on the internet and talking about things relating his gamer background to his psychology background.
Mm-hmm. And he draws on his own personal experiences. He's a big one for how to put this. He's very direct, and he also subverts a lot of expectations, especially Western expectations of what mental health treatment is. He doesn't do diagnoses on his live streams. He mostly just talks and tries to work through problems and come up with actionable solutions. He's very into meditation, which he uses different techniques for different problems, which I thought was fascinating. I didn't realize how many different forms of meditation there were. And he draws on a lot of spiritual themes, especially considering his background. His family are Indian immigrants. But he employs them in a practical way. It's not just Hare Krishna, let the spirit get into you and find your place within the universe, but he actually gives advice that you can use in your day-to-day life.
So it's not just stay and pray, it's actually, work on it. But use your positive thinking and use your positive attitude and directional mentality to get things done.
It's solutions tailor-made to the people who might have use for them. In fact, he had a video not too long ago addressing whether or not his channel is a cult, and him jokingly blowing off like, no, I couldn't. Number one, I couldn't handle that pressure. Number two, we don't have a farm out in the middle of nowhere for us to congregate.
3, I don't like Kool-Aid.
I watched an Ask Me Anything live stream a while ago, and apparently one of his aides was talking to him about, hey, we could do this retreat. There's this property we could buy, and he's like, no, we can't. I like having an office because if I'm in an office, I'm a therapist. If I'm on a farm, I'm a cult leader. I can't cross that line. Yeah.
Oh man, that is a fascinating point of view. Like a really cool, a great line to draw there.
He's very self-aware.
It's a heck of a distinction.
He swears and is okay with his clients swearing on his live streams, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it seems like there's more. It feels more off the cuff and authentic when people just say what's on their mind and don't have to filter it through what the way you're supposed to talk during a therapy session. He's very candid and gives advice that is counterintuitive to you. You think of therapy as like breaking down your issues and then building you back up to a point where you can function quote unquote normally. And he'll say things in his discussions like embrace failure. You are a failure because things like there's so much pressure in our culture to be experts and to only show our successes and to show ourselves at our best, especially with the advent of social media, that it's hard to acknowledge the parts of us that just don't stand up. And so he'll take interesting tacks in the conversation that make you go, wait, did he really just say that? But then you let him keep talking and it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying there. I don't have to be this way all the time. I can develop beyond what I think I know.
That's nice. And I know this isn't like the subject, like the important part of the subject, but one little comment I do want to make is his little logo icon.
Yes.
I really
that's
dig. It's a pill, but it's game controllers. Like, you know what I mean? It's a merging of a medication pill and a game controller. Which is kind of perfect for someone calling themselves healthy gamer.
Yeah, he specializes in video game analogies. He talks mostly to, when he does the interviews on live stream, he's mostly talking to other Twitch live streamers and video gamers. He deals a lot with video game addiction. That's another one of his big things.
Oh yeah.
He's got a website which is also healthygamer.gg.
So kind of what's his, just kind of in general, what's his take, you think, on video game addiction?
That in a world where things seem more and more desperate and where it's harder and harder to carve out your own niche in the world and know what your purpose is in life, people find solace, not purpose, but solace and comfort in video games. Because in a video game, or even a tabletop game, an RPG, you can more or less be whoever you want and be the hero and get the constant gratification of completing quests, leveling up. He'll use metaphors in his discussions about when you just solved a big problem, or when you had a breakthrough, you leveled up, or when he figures out like I have anxiety, and he figures out what the inciting incident was that started that downward spiral. He calls that a raid boss. But yeah, just the idea, and I empathize with this a lot, that when you feel like there's nothing better you can contribute to the world, or life doesn't seem to have any intrinsic purpose, which it really doesn't, but even when it appears to have no subjective purpose, the easy thing to do is dive into a game and be the hero in that little world.
Gotcha.
I forgot to put myself on mute there. You guys heard me coughing that time.
Yeah, we did. I wasn't sure if that was on the stream or if it was just on the Discord. But
I'm trying to mute them both when I do it now. But yeah, anyway, so he points out that like in a game, I would take it, you have some level of exerting control on your environment, which allows you to center yourself.
not just control, but a sense of agency and purpose. Like when you load up a character, when you play a Final Fantasy game, you are the hero, you've got the tools, you've got the team, and you're gonna go save the world. When you're one regular asshole with maybe a bachelor's degree, maybe just a GED, and you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week just to get by, and there's so many problems plaguing the world. It's like, where do you even start? And even if you find a place to start, even if you pick a thing and it's like, this is the thing that means the most to me, this is how I want to attempt to change the world, this is what I want my destiny to be, where do you even start? And it's easy to let all that pressure and all that perceived aimlessness and tininess overwhelm you.
Yeah, I get you. And yeah, it's curious. I know that I know some therapists have been using video games as a form of therapy to like help for various reasons. You know, people who have problems with authority, they have them playing games like Grand Theft Auto, where they can get out their aggression against authority on the in-game, you know, cops or whatever. And then people who have, what is it, like, I'm trying to think of the right word, where you like have a low self-esteem and don't think you can accomplish anything, have them play like easy games that they can easily accomplish goals in, to give that little you know, the little ring that you've done something successful, and then gradually go up in difficulty.
Yeah,
and hopefully they can translate that to real life.
Yeah, every success is a success, no matter how small it is.
Yeah, and so
I don't remember. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then one other one I thought was really interesting is like there was this other place where they had like juvie kids that were in for like gang violence of different opposing gangs playing against each other in like multiplayer first-person shooter games for the course of some number of weeks or months. And they were doing like this, you know, it was a program that they were doing at some, you know, place where they're kind of experimenting with it, and where they have really bad gang crime rates. And I think I read that
management therapy.
Yeah, and I think I read that like 95% of the juvie kids that went through that and did the violent video games, and then they became friends with these other people, and after playing these games with them and everything, after they were released, never got arrested again, or at least didn't get arrested again within the time frame of the reports, which was, you know, after a couple of years or whatever.
Or at least it wasn't for violence.
Yeah, and so I thought that was really interesting how therapists have been able to use games in those ways to try to help people.
A lot of there was several parent groups and religious right groups and stuff. They used to claim that video games promoted violence, and
they still do that. They still do that all the time.
They still do, but they used to be even more prolific. But actual studies that have been put out by Harvard University and stuff have actually indicated that people who play these violent video games are less likely to be violent in their regular lives, because they're getting the cathartic release in the game. They're getting their aggressions out. If you have an outlet, then you're not tempted to blow up in person. You know, that's why when you have a bad day, say you have a bad day at work, and say you work at a call center and you get a whole bunch of calls, and everybody has been ragging on you all day long and stuff. You go home and you feel like you want to pop a game in and kill some goblins or blow up some mechs or something for a couple hours. And at the end of that quote unquote killing spree, you feel good. You've got good endorphins in your body. Your body's released the proper endorphins for getting the aggressions out, but you've not actually hurt anybody. And in fact, you also get those points of accomplishment as well, which are also giving you positive reinforcement instead of the negative things that happen when you go out and do it in public, like being arrested or or hurt or killed yourself in real life.
Yeah. So hey, Greg, quick question. In regards to being like, in order, let's say hypothetically, I was wanting to get help from this Dr. K. Like, how difficult would it be for me to like get a session with him of, to work things out or whatever?
I don't know what's involved in getting a session with Dr. K personally, but he has trained a bunch of coaches. And if you go to healthygamer.gg, you can read through what their coaching program entails. Let's see. Effective, affordable coaching, and the rates are quite affordable compared to in-person therapy. You can do group coaching, 16 sessions for $24 a session, and they have scaling rates for personal one-on-one sessions of 50-minute coaching.
Okay. So yeah, if we've got any listeners who could use some help with mental health and have and also are gamers,
they have a triptych's not the right word, a Venn diagram on their webpage showing the 3 zones that they kind of focus on and then interlink in order to work out their philosophy. Gamer psychology, things like alexithymia, the triumph circuit, and dopamine exhaustion. Old school clinical psychology, like recovery coaching and neurochemistry and addictive interventions. And Eastern perspectives, like meditation techniques and Ayurvedic mental health. That was another thing I was going to bring up. He talks a lot going back to the idea of finding purpose in a world that doesn't seem to have any. He talks a lot about karma and dharma, and I'd heard those words like I expect a lot of people had, and I had my own ideas based on pop culture of what those were, and came to realize through his discussions that they are at the same time more complex, more nuanced, but also less complex than we think of them. Like we think of karma as an aggregate of all the good and all the bad that you've done in your life, or like an aggregate of all the attachment you have to the world. Your karma, according to Dr. K, is just your situation. Where you are is your karma, and your dharma, which roughly translates to duty, is what you do with that situation. Where you find the world wants you to be, and what the universe wants you to do, to put it in pseudo spiritual terms. That's terms that he uses, but you can call it the world, you can call it God, you can call it destiny, whatever you want. Just the thing that in a vacuum you realize is where you need to be. For me, that was Game Expo. I found myself in a certain place at a certain time, and I needed to do something and feel like I was contributing to a community, and you guys took me in, and this has been a huge part of my life since. So I can attest to what that means.
Oh, absolutely. Eclectic Endeavors and Game is totally a karmic release. It's I mean, and this is coming from a guy that's always been involved with this kind of stuff. I still love the fact that I got embraced by Eclectic Endeavors and jumped right in. And shoot, I was the one that brought Greg in. So, you know, but yeah, it's an amazing thing. And that's part of the reason we also do Game Time, is to remind people that we are still here for you too, because this is our karma and our dharma. This is our where we sit in the world, and the kind of the duty that we feel towards the world is here. All right, let's go on to our next subject.
I said we got a couple pieces of advice we can give to people. You could either, or you could do both. You could use healthygamer.gg as a possible resource to help with mental health, and you could also do what the 3 of us do, is volunteer for something that we have an interest in. I volunteer for this, and I volunteered for some acting and stuff in the past that helped me out. So that's something that I find very beneficial: is find something that you want to contribute to and volunteer for it.
And if any of these videos sound interesting to you, I would, if you're in to watch a good 2-hour video or even break it up into segments, I would recommend listening to his interview with Jacksepticeye, because Jacksepticeye is also one of my favorite people in the world, and hearing him open his heart on some issues and Dr. K's reactions, that was the first video I saw, and it was really insightful.
Nice.
If you want some smaller, more compact content, how to unlock your motivation is a really good one. Let's see, what is congruent depression digs a little bit into what is clinical depression versus what is just being intermittently depressed for actual reasons and not just neurochemistry. Motivation styles determined by personality. Yeah, there's a lot of videos that are in the like 10 to 20 minute range that are just general advice that might be useful to you.
Yeah.
So basically, go in and subscribe to this guy's channel, and when you're needing a extra little uplift or you're questioning things, go watch a couple of his videos. He's not necessarily going to have all the answers. That's not what we're saying, but use him as a resource.
Yeah, he has a disclaimer at the beginning of his videos. This is not medical advice. This is a therapy session for the people concerned. This is not... It's things for the audience to take into account, but don't treat it as medical advice. If you need help, please find professional help, and if you are having trouble affording treatments, there are some resources out there.
It's the TED Talk equivalent of psychology.
Sort of. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess to shift over to a lighter subject, a less heavy subject overall, there is a new Pokemon game called New Pokemon Snap, because the people at Nintendo love to use the word new for their new titles now, or have for a while. I don't know what it is about them using the word new. New Super Mario Brothers, new Pokemon Snap. Is the next Zelda?
We know it's new. It just came out.
Is the next Zelda going to be new Breath of the Wild? Like new Metroid Prime,
a new Link to the old past.
Yeah. A link to the new past.
Is that the future?
I think that's the past after you've changed it by changing time. I don't know.
Oh god, that continuity is enough of a snarl as it is.
Yeah. But yeah, so new Pokemon Snap, which, despite me not caring much for the title, I think this is we haven't had a Pokemon Snap game since N64.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit, it's not really for me. I didn't play the original Pokemon Snap, but for a few minutes at Blockbuster when they had a display there, it didn't really grab me.
Oh, I did.
But I know that, like yourself, I know there are lots of people who love Pokemon Snap. It has a very specific niche market. And so I'm happy to see that they're finally making a new one after all these years. Because it's been, N64 was the late 90s. So we are looking at more than 20 years, I think, since the last Pokemon Snap game. That is quite a long way to look at it. So Grace, since you are a fan of Pokemon Snap, you want to tell us a little bit more about the what it is that pulls you in, that excites you about Pokemon Snap, and about this new one?
Yeah, I was just checking. The original was 1999.
1999.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, the original was basically just a rail shooter, except you were taking pictures instead of shooting things. And as you went through levels and got higher quality photos, you'd unlock extra items. Like at first, you just had like basically rocks that you could throw. They weren't rocks, but you could get Pokemon's attention or like hit Pokemon with them and annoy them and get pictures of like getting the side eye from Charmeleon or something. But it was just a fun way to engage with the Pokemon universe that wasn't basically anime dogfighting, which I wish there was a lot more of in the more recent games. But
hey, in Pokemon Moon, I can pet the Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh, you could also take your memory card from the back of your N64 controller to Blockbuster, the same kiosk they had where you could play the demo. You could print off your photos as sticker sheets.
What?
And so, and so my binder was covered with pictures of Pikachu and Charizard and Geodude and such and so forth.
You know, now that you mention it, I think I heard somewhere, and I don't know for sure, but I think I heard somewhere that they're doing something similar to this, where you can like upload images.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And you can get some kind of a printer to print them out. I don't know for sure.
That wouldn't be impossible. Another thing, to kind of link back to the previous article, a lot of parents liked the Snap games because it was a non-violent game that the kids could play, because they were taking pictures instead of shooting or killing. And Pokemon has always been, more about capture than kill anyway, but
I'm going to shoot you with my camera.
But there still was battle in the other Pokemon games. This one, you were just taking their picture and flushing them out. And so Snap was very, very popular with a lot of the parents that were worried about the violence in games.
Yeah, it was an open air safari zone, and it was a video game, so obviously the way they moved and the way they reacted to things were scripted, but how you timed things like distracting the Pokemon to get the perfect picture, or you'd get scored on your photos and you would get bonus points depending on whether the Pokemon was facing towards you, whether they were center framed, whether there were multiple of the same Pokemon in frame, or whether it was a really dynamic action pose. Like I remember there's in the volcano level, there's a Charmeleon hanging out by the edge of a volcano. You could chuck an apple at its head, it would fall in and then rise out as a Charizard and just bellow fire and lava, and it looked amazing. And if you got that picture, that was like an instant A.
Nice.
But
I was going to say, I heard there was a challenge of turning a Charmeleon into a Charizard somehow. I was curious how that worked.
So getting those action poses and just exploring, like you couldn't go off the literal rails of the scenario, but how you timed your actions and just interacting with Pokemon with certain items at certain times just to see what would happen was just fun.
Yeah, it's like an experience. Now it's on rails, but does it force you to continuously move, or are you able to like stop the movement?
You move forward at the same pace. Like every level takes the exact same amount of time because the vehicle's in constant movement. You can't change it. All you can do is aim your camera and throw rocks or apples or whatever. I forget what the other items you could get were.
Gotcha.
But you had an infinite supply of those items, so you could go ham and just do whatever you wanted.
But that was part of the challenge, right?
Yeah. So coming from someone who isn't as familiar with Pokemon Snap, what I have read about it, like in some of the reviews, generally speaking, it's the same thing as the original game, except for improved in every conceivable way that you could ask for from a Pokemon Snap type of game. More Pokemon, more environments, more interactivity, more options, better visuals. I don't know what else to describe for improvements, but yeah, it's been improved in every possible way. And when I was looking at some of the reviews, and what's interesting is the ones I didn't read everything. I didn't read every review, but the reviews I did read, the ones that gave it a poor score, like they give it like a 6 out of 10 or something, were people that sounded like they didn't understand the concept of what the game was before they started. They would they'd be complaining about how there wasn't enough action to this game and it's too slow paced and too relaxing. And I'm like,
it's a safari tour. That's the point. You're at an open air Pokemon zoo.
You got to grade. I feel like you need to grade the game on what it is trying to be,
on its merit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't judge a JRPG as if it was a tournament fighting game or a platformer.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the jumping in this racing game was terrible.
Yeah.
Curse you for the.
What was NASCAR thinking when they didn't put a jump button?
Don't expect Grand Theft Auto to be The Sims. They're just two different things. They might have similarities, but don't expect them to be.
I don't know. The last one you could. I don't know. The last one had yoga mini games, didn't it?
You did.
Had a lot of weird stuff.
But anyway,
Yes.
yeah. So that
I hope there's more. I hope there's more content in the new one because the original only had 7 levels, 7 rails that you could ride, and the diversity of environments was pretty good. There was a beach level, there was a plains level, there was a volcano level, there's a cave level. But it felt like once you did each level once, you could run through them all a few times, and like I said, just do things just for the sake of doing them and see what happens. But it did get old after a few months.
after
So
you got the
I
perfect
wonder.
picture of everything, you were pretty much done.
Yeah, once you got all the high scores, I wonder if there'll be more levels or if there'll be if there'll be variations on the individual levels. Like you could. Do you remember in Mega Man X where if you, depending on what order you did the levels in,
It doesn't matter to me.
the levels would change?
Ooh, I don't remember the levels.
It's been a while
changing.
since I played Mega Man.
Like if you did the Flame Mammoth stage before or after you did Chill Penguin stage, the thermodynamic power plant would either be frozen or unfrozen, or like all the lava would turn to concrete. I wonder if there could be something like that in here. You could change how the levels are presented and thereby get different reactions and opportunities to photograph.
And of course, it's also a modern game, so there'll probably be DLC content for added more levels and stuff like that.
Probably.
Because
that's probably true.
That's the new way to do things. You bring out the base game, then you bring out DLC content to increase everything.
Yeah, but reskinning levels is also a good way to get more utility and variation out of what is essentially the same content.
Same code, yeah. Same code, different skin.
I don't know if we have information available to us about how many different tracks or anything there is. The game comes out in 2 days on April 30th. So, check that out for Nintendo Switch. I'm not planning on picking it up, at least not right away. I might end up getting it sometime down the road, but, it's definitely, if you want a calm, relaxing Pokemon game, check out Pokemon Snap on April 30th. I'm scrolling through here and I'm trying to see if I can find. It says a surprising variety of biomes, from white sand beaches to foggy forests to an active volcano.
Sounds more or less like the original.
Yeah, a new region of the Pokemon world, Lentil.
Lentil.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're working with a Professor Mirror.
And their assistant Rita, looks like.
Them and their names for professors.
What happened to naming all the professors after trees? Come on.
Right?
Yeah, you never heard of a mirror tree?
I mean, it might be a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a botanist. It might be a real tree. I was gonna make some joke about like the branches, mirror the shape of their owner.
Mea culpa to all the fanatical mirror tree
enthusiasts,
weebs out there.
Yeah,
right.
So yeah, that's a new game we've got coming out in a couple of days that I'm sure lots of people are gonna be looking forward to for Pokemon Snap on Nintendo Switch. We do have another game coming out for the PlayStation side of things that I'm pretty excited for, called Returnal. And
that page up.
Yeah.
Returnal. What's that? Eternal. Here we go.
Yeah. So I'm going to admit right up front that I originally didn't have much interest in this game. Like when I first saw the announcement teaser trailer, I think it was a year ago. I was just like, maybe it'll be good. It looks pretty. And it's one of those games where like you come out, like you wake up and you have like challenges to overcome, and then you got to try to figure out the map and figure out the world, but then you die, and then you come back to life back at the beginning, and have learned what things are going on and try to do things differently or something like that. It's a roguelike, like get different power-ups and stuff like that, different upgrades. And I haven't spent much time playing those kinds of games. I've played a little bit, but not a whole lot. But it's becoming like a really popular trend these days in new games. It's like the new battle royale. It feels like, where it seems like everything's doing roguelike. And so I wasn't sure how I felt about this game until just recently I saw gameplay footage of it, and it looked awesome. It kind of has a similar, like, fast pace. It's shooting out in space, and like kind of the basic idea is that you're like lost out in space, and you wake up there, and then you go around and you find your own body or whatever. You find your corpse on the ground, and you don't understand how that is. And there's something going on in this world that makes it to where every time your character dies, they come back to life again. And so you're trying again to find your way to survive this hellscape of this planet, while avoiding getting killed how you died the last time, basically.
So it's a Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, it sounds like a Groundhog's Day kind of thing, and I think it's coming out the same day as Pokemon Snap. I think it's coming out the 30th, if I remember right. Sorry. It's a PS5 exclusive game, and it's one of the first. It's one of the first exclusive games coming to the PS5. Like we had Demon Souls on launch day, but that was really a PS3 game that got a full remake for PS5. And then we've got Miles Morales, which was made on PS4 and PS5. And so we got a number of games that are on the other platforms but are improved on PS5 in some way. But I think this might be the first true exclusive PS5 game. And everything I've seen about it since the gameplay stuff, and since like they put out like a playable form for reviewers, and reviewers are putting up some footage of them playing it and talking about it, and it's just sounding great. Like you can see in here, there's an early verdict in this review that I shared. They're saying positives for it. The sound's amazing with headphones, seamless transitions and loading, immersive storytelling, which is that's part of what holds me back on roguelike games, is I really enjoy good storytelling in a game. And a lot of roguelike games, I don't think have much of a story going for them because it's just about the gameplay, which good gameplay is great, but I like good gameplay and good storyline too. And this one's immersive storytelling in this roguelike game feels like a really good mix for me that piques to my interest. And then they also said it has a DualSense support, is subtle but effective. And the DualSense is that that new like haptic feedback stuff that they're doing with the PS5 controllers to make things feel more like they're happening. I think one of the things that the reviewer was saying about how they're making use of the DualSense is like, you hold down the L2 button part of the way and you'll get some resistance, and then that will be aiming down your scope with your primary fire. But then if you push past the resistance and squeeze it all the way down, now you're aiming with secondary fire of your gun. And that's one of the examples. It's one of the main big examples of how this game is. And they're like, at first, it seems a little bit odd because you're accustomed to using, different buttons between primary and secondary, and this is the same button, just different levels of squeezing on the trigger on it. But after you play it for a few minutes, you kind of get used to it. You then prefer that. That feels a lot more natural, and it just has a much better feeling to it.
So there's some finesse involved.
So yeah, I Something sounded like it exploded outside. I hope we don't lose internet or power in the neighborhood over whatever that noise was.
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, that seems to be what happens around here. Like a car will crash into a pole, blow out a power thing, and cause me to lose power for a couple hours. Anyway, so yeah, I just kind of want to bring this up a little bit because it's a new PS5, and like some people are calling it the first truly next gen game that we've got.
The first one
I'm
built
definitely
exclusively for PlayStation 5 anyway.
Yeah, I mean there hasn't been one exclusively built for Xbox Series X, I don't think yet. Either. And unless you're counting Nintendo Switch as next gen, but it's got, I love the Nintendo Switch. It's an awesome console, but it's not when you're thinking of next gen games, it doesn't feel very next gen. It's kind of last gen. But it's still
it's a couple years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a third-person roguelike shooter coming out April 30th. So, yeah, same day as new Pokemon Snap. So, of the two, I'm definitely going to be picking up this game myself. I'm going to try to get in some time with it this weekend. And then I could share some of my personal thoughts on it next week if people want to hear about that a little.
And so people can go to Left Claw Studios and watch you play, maybe.
Yeah, that would be. I definitely want to do some streaming. I don't know if I want to stream it at first. I think I want to play it on my own for a little bit, and then stream it once I've got kind of the hang of the controls a little bit. I don't want to start streaming and be completely lost on right off the bat. I do that a little bit with some games. I'll stream my first time playing a game.
Oh, blind playthroughs are the best.
Yeah, I do plenty of blind playthroughs, but I feel like this is going to be a game I'm going to want to, especially with the immersive storytelling and stuff. I feel like this is going to be one I want to do on my own first, and then I'll do some live streaming. I definitely what
I was looking at the screenshots. The environments look suitably desolate and lonely for a roguelike game. I'm looking at this one specifically. I've never seen a third-person shooter roguelike, so that has me intrigued. And I'm looking at this one with the red sky where it looks like they're shooting up at a giant robot or something.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see. Usually in these kinds of games, I see lots of swarm enemies, but what looks like you're fighting a mecha, and that sense of scale, I think would really sell that challenge level.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah, it seems something. It seems really promising to me. It's made by Housemarque, which has been making quite a few games over the years. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. They I recognized the name, and before I was remembering what all they've done, and now off the top of my head, I'm kind of lost. You know what I mean? Let's take a quick look at their Housemarque is made. They did Nex Machina, Matterfall, Alien Nation, Resogun, Outland. And so, yeah, they've made a number of games over the years. Even going further back, they made Super Stardust, Super Stardust HD. So yeah, Dead Nation. So yeah, they've been doing this for a little while, and most of the games they make are kind of smaller scale. This is their first really big scale game, and I'm hoping that this is going to be what's really elevates them as a developing team, and it seems very promising by all accounts. So I guess that's all I got to say about that game, unless you had any other thoughts.
If lack of narrative is what's been holding you back from roguelikes and roguelites, have you played Hades yet?
I've not, but I have. That is one of the ones that does have my interest in playing sometime soon.
I think the story and the voice acting are outstanding in that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where you keep playing. I've done over 50 runs in that game, and I keep finding new dialogue, new character developments.
That's
so
really cool.
Even when the main story is resolved, you can keep playing and keep learning about about Zagreus and the other characters. Yeah, highly recommend.
And if I remember right, it's currently only on Nintendo Switch, right?
Oh no, it's I
PC,
play it on my
guess.
I play it on my PC. I think it's also for the other consoles. Let me check.
I think I read it's going to the other consoles, but it hasn't gotten there yet. But I could be wrong. Not that it's an issue. It doesn't look like it's a game where the Switch version would suffer.
No, I much prefer control. There's arguments to be made for keyboard and mouse control and controller, but I prefer controller.
Yeah, me too. I definitely prefer controller. It's what I grew up on. I feel like controllers are more immersive than keyboard and mouse. That's
yeah,
kind
it
of
looks
what
like
I'm going for.
Yeah, it looks like right now it's just Switch and PC and Mac.
So yeah, I'm probably going to pick it up on the Switch before long. I didn't know much about it until relatively recently. After what first caught my attention to Hades is it won like Indie Game of the Year or something like that. Yeah, it won a lot of awards. Like I started seeing it pop up a bunch at different award shows, and I was like, I need to take a look at this game. A closer look at this game, and it did get my interest. In fact, I would probably own it already, but I ended up binge purchasing a lot of games for the PSP after the announcement of the stores closing.
That's fair.
I've spent like an embarrassing amount of money on games for my PS3 and Vita and PSP, especially the PSP.
And none of us have an infinite budget.
Yep, exactly. Don't have an infinite budget, and so mostly now that I know the Vita and the PS3 stores are going to stick around, I have to only worry about the PSP. Though I already spent money on upgrading the memory cards on all three of my handheld PlayStations. My PSP 2000, my PSP Go, and my PS Vita. All three of them, I bought the maximum size memory cards you could for them.
I sometimes wish I still had my PSP.
My memory card for the Vita was a whole hubble-to-do with the post office. Like, they're supposed to deliver it Saturday. I finally got it, by the way. I got it, but they're supposed to deliver it Saturday. Yeah, they're supposed to deliver it Saturday. Instead, I got this little peach-colored slip that's like, sorry, we missed you. And I was like, I was home. Like, did you not ring the doorbell? I'm almost always home right now, unless I run out to get some food. And so I then, they said I could pick it up on Monday at the post office. So Monday I went to the post office and they told me, oh, it went out for delivery. We just gave it to the wrong person on Saturday, which I didn't think about at the time. But later I thought about it, I was like, how would I have gotten the peach slip if it was given to the wrong delivery driver? Like, that wouldn't have even made sense. And so, but I come home Monday. I kind of rush home because I'm like, this is around the time I think the postman usually gets to my house. And so I rush home, concerned I'm going to miss him. And I get here, and the truck is outside, just down the street, like a few houses over. And so I come home, I check my mailbox, nothing in there. And then I was like, okay, maybe he hasn't gotten to my house yet. And then a couple minutes later, the mail truck pulls into my driveway. I was like, oh, here's my thing. And the guy comes up, and he sets my stuff on the porch, on the little table on the porch, and then walks away. He says, see you later, or whatever. Have a good day, whatever he says. And I grab my stuff off the porch, and there was other things, but not my memory card, not my PS Vita memory card.
Oh.
And I was like, what the deal? And then I call the post office, and I'm on the phone with them I'm on hold for an hour and 15 minutes before I finally get a person on the phone. And then I get them on the phone, and they look it up, and they go, I don't know why they told you it was out for delivery. It's still at the annex building. And I said, that's exactly where I went. And they told me it wasn't there, that it was out on delivery. And so then the lady on the phone's like, okay, I'll get it taken care of. They'll deliver it to you tomorrow. Just take that peach slip they gave you, sign it, and leave it on the mailbox, and they'll leave it there for you if you don't want to have to sign for it when they get there. So I fill out the slip, and I put it on the mailbox, and I still, I'm up, and I, check the mailbox in the morning, yesterday morning, and the peach slip was still there. Went about the rest of my day doing stuff here at the house. And then I go back and I check on it again. Peach slip is gone. No package. Like, what is even? And other mail. I got other mail. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, the
And then
post
I
office
finally.
they've been dropping the ball on things like the other day Allison got something delivered that she'd ordered, and it was delivered by the post office, and they didn't even come up and put it on our porch. They left it at the corner of our trailer out by the freaking road. Didn't come up and knock or nothing. It's like, what the bleepity bleepity bleep. It's like,
yeah, why are they not ringing my doorbell or something? You know, it's all this trouble. It was $150 for the 64 gigabyte memory stick, which is too expensive for 64 gigs, but it's proprietary and they don't make them anymore. And so I finally go up to the annex building a second trip, and I'm up there for like 20 minutes or so, and they finally find it and give it to me, and it's all good then. But man, I was like, online shopping is supposed to be convenient. And I still have the PSP Go memory card I'm still waiting on. But it's going to be a while because it's coming in from Germany. I only could buy it from overseas. So yeah, that's why I don't own Hades yet. I've spent all my money. I spent all my money on handheld PlayStation
on historical relics.
Yes.
all right. Okay.
Because I got frightened by this announcement that they were shutting the stores down. I was like, I gotta have this stuff, and we didn't have any details yet. Like we're like, because the first announcement was we're closing the stores down. I was like, does that mean I can still download what I bought? I don't know. So I'm like, I better download everything. So I ordered all the memory cards, the maximum I could get.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, I kind of got divulged on a whole nother subject for a while.
That's all right.
But God, I had to share that story. It was so frustrating. But yeah, roguelike games, Hades. Also, the fact that Hades. Okay, does Hades use much in Greek lore?
Oh yeah,
I know the game is Greek lore themed.
Oh yeah,
more the game.
You play Zagreus, the son of Hades, and you are the roguelike runs that you make. You are literally trying to escape the underworld.
Oh yes. See,
and every time you die, you go back to the house of Hades and try to escape again.
So yeah, it definitely sounds intriguing to me. I definitely want to get it.
You go through Tartarus, Asphodel, Elysium, and the River Styx. You fight satyrs. You fight an undead version of the Hydra of Lernia. You fight the Furies. Yeah, they draw a lot on Greek lore. In fact, I found a video by Overly Sarcastic Productions talking about the history, about the lore and complexity of Dionysus, and there's apparently some obscure but ever-present links between Zagreus and Dionysus, which they reference in the game.
Oh,
like just for a moment, like there's a subquest where you have to trick Orpheus into believing that Zagreus and Dionysus are like the same person. It's funny. You make friends with all these characters. You get boons from the Greek gods. You get boons from Zeus, Aphrodite, Dionysus, a few others. And they combine in interesting ways, and that's how you make your runs. You get upgrades and see what combinations of abilities work. You eventually get to a point where you get duo boons, where like if you have this boon from Artemis and this boon from Athena, you can get another boon that like dovetails their abilities and just becomes crazy awesome. So,
nice.
Tons of replay value.
It looks like it's got like 5 Game of the Year awards.
Yeah. 6 different weapons that you can run through with, each of which has 4 different forms.
Sweet. So yeah, like I said, I got this wizard one. I have a wizard one for my Xbox One that is pretty fun to play. Like my Allie and I will play together every once in a while. But I haven't spent much time on these roguelike games, and it seems like they're popping up everywhere. It's like the word of the year for new games, you know?
Yeah.
And so
they go in cycles.
Yeah. It was all battle royales. I mean, we're still getting battle royales, but I think I think Battle Royale is starting to taper off a little bit as roguelikes are growing.
Yeah, I think they jumped the shark with Tetris 99.
Oh, yeah? Tetris 99 was a while ago, and since then we've gotten Super Mario 35 and Pac-Man 99.
Yeah,
but those are templates on the same thing. Like, I don't understand how you... I understand mechanically how, but I don't understand logistically how you're supposed to aim at certain other players while playing Tetris or while playing Mario. But that's just not my thing then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get like 4 choices between who to target. Do you want to target someone at random? Do you want to target someone who's targeting you? Do you want to target the person that has like the most points, or target the person that has the most vulnerability? Basically, and then it chooses which individual player. You just like choose what you out of the 4 options, what kind of a target you want to go after. Generally how it works.
Yeah. Besides which, I didn't have a machine at the time that could run PUBG when that was popular. And by the time Fortnite was out, and by the time I had a machine that could run it, I heard that Fortnite had a really toxic and obnoxious community.
I don't care much for the gameplay of Fortnite. It's not my thing. I'm glad that it's doing well. We're getting some interesting gaming combinations out of it, like Master Chief and Kratos in the same game with Marvel characters. Like, just whatever. Like, anything can happen in that game. But gameplay-wise, that's not really my shtick. Anyway, so yeah, I'm personally looking. So, are you going to be getting Pokemon Snap this weekend? It comes out.
Probably not this weekend. I don't usually pay full price for video games.
Okay.
If I can avoid it.
Okay.
I'll just add to the wish list and see if it'll eventually go on sale.
Yeah.
Either on the store or at Entertain Mart or something.
Right.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool store. They get new albums, like new music albums there. I did not expect that.
I wish they sold proprietary console controllers, though. I was getting a replacement controller for my PS4 because one of my old ones, actually, it didn't shoot craps. I just diverted it completely to PC play because I was sick of having to reset it to like factory settings every time I wanted to reconnect it to the console or to the PC, back and forth. They only have one brand of third-party PS4 controller, and I bought one, returned it because the right joystick was sticking when you push it left, and the new one I got was cool for a week, and then it started doing the exact same thing.
What brand was it?
I don't remember. I could find out.
Yeah, I want to avoid that brand.
Yeah, but if you go to Entertain Mart and look for PlayStation 4 controllers, it's all they sell. Like, they're different colors, but they're all the same thing, and as far as I can tell, that's the only brand they sell.
Gotcha. So I won't buy a PS4 controller from there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many more PS4 controllers I'm going to buy though, since I'm mostly playing on the PS5 and not the PS4. Yeah. And I still have I have at least 5 PS4 controllers, if not 6. Because I got a red, I can see 4 of them right now. I got the blue, the red, the gold, the silver. I know I have a black around here, and I think I got a white one too.
I've got 3 counting this one, but this is my PC one now. So
I have exactly 2. I have exactly 2. One to be on the charger, while the other one's to be played. Yeah.
I got 2 PS5 controllers. I'll get more PS5 controllers when they introduce other colors. But since I only got the white, I've only got the 2 for now. I'm a sucker for alternate colored controllers.
There's some good skins out there.
Yeah, it's true. I just sometimes, especially when it comes to a controller, the skins sometimes bother with my sense of feeling on the controller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially now that the PS5 has this DualSense technology, I'm kind of concerned about it, affecting it more than other controllers do. But I got some rubberized stuff on some of my Nintendo controllers and stuff like that. But anyway, I think that's it for gaming news I was wanting to cover. And these other topics is mostly Doc stuff that I interjected, but I might be like leading mostly on the conversation on the television stuff. There's not a new episode of Flash this week. There was a new episode of Supergirl that had absolutely zero footage of Melissa Benoit as Supergirl. It had no Supergirl in it, basically. It had a girl playing young Kara, because the whole episode, most of the episode took place in the past. It took place in, what year was it? The 90s, I guess? Basically, it went back to when Kara was in high school. And I think the episode was called Prom Date or Prom Night or something like that. And the premise is they need to get Brainiac 5, Brainy, and the others during the present day. They need to get a sampling of Supergirl's DNA so they can try to track her in the Phantom Zone, because Supergirl is still lost in the Phantom Zone. And they have a way to open a portal to the Phantom Zone, but it's huge, and they can't just go in there and wander around aimlessly. They got to be able to track her. And they have a machine that can track her, but it needs her DNA. So the idea here on this episode is they need to find a time where Supergirl was vulnerable, and they can get a sampling of her blood to do it. And for whatever reason, the date that they decide to go to is a day during when she was in high school on prom night, and there was like a meteor or an asteroid or whatever that was going to hit the Earth or something, going to hit the school, I don't know, something like that. And she flew up and like punched it out of the way. But this asteroid had kryptonite in it too, so it caused her to bust her hand up and bleed, and she crashed back into like the gymnasium or some shit like that. And so they're like, we're gonna go find Supergirl just after this happens, Kara, just after this happens, and get steal some blood from her knuckles without changing the timeline. And then the only people who can go back in time, because you can't meet yourself in the past, apparently, is Brainy and Brainy's girlfriend, Dreamer. I mean, I say that like she's not just his girlfriend, but Dreamer, and but the two of them are having this like weird couples thing right now. Anyway, so none of the others can go back in time though, because they might run into themselves, especially Alex. And so Brainy and Dreamer go back in the past. They miscalculate and go like 24 hours too early. So they're like a day earlier than they expected. But they of course they end up having problems. They damage their ship. Hold up.
And they meet up with Kara and Kara's best friend and Alex.
Yeah, Kara has this best friend who knows about her powers, and the two of them work together to like solve problems in the community. Which has a young, what's her name? A young Cat Grant. Young Cat Grant is in town investigating at this time because she thinks there's a super in town that's causing all these things to happen. They get a story out in the newspaper like, oh, this is the luckiest little town in America or something like that, because all these bad possible things that might have happened got stopped somehow, and they just think it's good luck.
And there's an intergalactic like zookeeper type that's after a Kryptonian.
Well, yeah, there's a person that is trying to hunt down the Kryptonian. So that's another part of the story. They didn't kind of get scared when they discovered there's a Kaluan and whatever Dreamer's race is. I don't remember what her lineage is anymore. I forget what it's called. It's one that I've never read in a book. I've only seen it in the show, so I can't quite remember. I know Kaluan, and obviously we know Kryptonian. So yeah, there's a couple of there's a couple of poachers that are trying to, I don't know if poacher's the right word, but a couple of guys that are trying to abduct a Kryptonian for their little zoo, their menagerie. And so they're causing problems, and Brainy is having all these stress issues, and so he's like eating too much, and he accidentally joins the baseball team and the and the drama club, Glee Club, and everything else. When he's supposed to just be, fixing the ship.
All his ways to cope with the stress.
Yeah.
And he says he's doing it to cover his being exposed, but he's also doing it because it's a stress reaction.
Yeah. He's trying to find ways. He's trying to, since he has his personality inhibitors destroyed or gone, he's now experiencing stress unlike he's never experienced before. And he knows that if he screws up the past, it'll screw up things in the future, on untold levels of changes in the future.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah, they're worried about the butterfly effect.
more like the Back to the Future effect, but still, yeah.
Yeah, more like the Back to the Future effect.
And of course, the reason they go back to this specific time is because Dreamer dreamed about it.
Yeah, that was part of it too. Was the Dreamer had dreams about that, and it matched up with a time where Supergirl would have been bleeding. And so they're like, that must be what these combined together to be.
And Alex even says, young Alex even says, that's the first time she'd ever seen Kara bleed, period. So that was part of how she remembered that time.
Yeah. Adult Alex says the first time she ever saw her sister or saw Kara bleed was that day.
Yeah.
Though she has bled other times since then, so I'm kind of like thinking, why not go to a more recent time where she bled? Or you don't even have to go to it. Just find some kryptonite. Go back in time, a few weeks even, a couple months, a year. Find Kara and be like, hey, in the future, you're going to get trapped in the Phantom Zone. We got to rescue you with some of your blood. Let us get a sample of blood. Like, I'm sure that would be a lot easier than going back to high school.
You can't give away that information, though. To the old, even if it's just a couple days earlier, you can't really do that with the Back to the Future effect. Plus, they know they have to go to that time period because, like I said, Dreamer dreamed it. In fact, she was getting quite emphatic nightmares about it.
Right. Which I mean, the dreams is just kind of I don't know. It feels like it's like causing, I don't know. I'm not super into the episode. I was not super into this particular episode.
It's hard not to put yourself all your energy into one that doesn't have Supergirl really in it. I mean, it had young Supergirl, but it didn't have Supergirl.
Yeah, and so there was no Phantom Zone. We don't know what's going on with Supergirl in the Phantom Zone.
I thought they'd do at least one update. I thought they'd cut over to the Phantom Zone at least once, but they didn't.
Nope, not even once. We didn't even get a glimpse. We didn't even get like an into the episode like little tag or anything of what's going on in the Phantom Zone.
Not even a mid-credit scene or anything. Yeah, you're right.
No. Yeah, and so no, there wasn't a frame of footage of Melissa as Supergirl or Melissa Benoit at all, and so it was weird. I was like, "How do you have a Supergirl episode without Supergirl in it?" Seems odd to me.
Yeah.
And so, and it ended on a to be continued mark, which is not common either. We don't get it to be continued. Sure, we end episodes plenty of times with some kind of a cliffhanger. We don't usually completely end on a to be continued level of cliffhanger because it was like I think it ended with the menagerie poacher aliens capturing Brainy and
Dreamer.
I think Dreamer and Brainy, or was the young Kara in that as too? They trapped them inside of this bubble thing that they couldn't break out of. I think it was just Brainy and Dreamer at the end because they accidentally changed the timeline because it attacked them earlier when they were on this like runaway truck situation,
right?
And then and they ran away. They fled in their invisible ship because they saw there was 3 aliens down there and they weren't prepared for all 3 of them. They were prepared for a Kryptonian, but not for a Kryptonian, Nickelodeon, and whatever Dreamer's alien species is. And so Brainy and Dreamer went back to their little spaceship and was looking at the time records from the DEO and found, 3 days from today, these two aliens get captured by the DEO and arrested. This is what we know about them. And then while they're looking at it, the history changes and it's, on the loose. They realize they've accidentally changed the past by interacting with these aliens. So now they're like, we got to set things back on track. And they try to go after them. But it turns out to be another trap set for the two of them. So, the most entertaining stuff was really about Brainy struggling with this high school stuff. And while that was the most interesting stuff, I feel like that's a sad statement for a Supergirl episode, that the most interesting thing happening was Brainy stress joining a baseball team for the high school.
And the most dramatic part was Dreamer kind of debating with herself about calling her mother. She kept looking at her phone, and you knew that's what she was thinking, but she never articulated it. And then she did a one-time attempt to call, but it got a message.
It got to her voicemail, and she just listened to her mom's voice on the voicemail machine.
Sometimes that's all you want is just to hear her voice. So hey, that might have been enough. Anyway, speaking of cliffhangers,
I'm kind of I'm one quick thing. How did Dreamer's cell phone work in the past? I don't think it would have an active phone plan back then.
Brainy might have modified their cell phones with future technology so that it would automatically piggyback on landline signals or something whenever they travel through time. Kind of like how Doctor Who does that to everybody's cell phone when they become his companion, so that they can call with their cell phone even if they're in other time periods. So who knows? Maybe they borrowed a thing from Doctor Who. Anyway, speaking of cliffhangers, oh my God. The cliffhanger to end all cliffhangers was this week. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Oh my God. First off,
finale. The season finale of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
For those For those like me who are expecting 9 episodes, just like WandaVision, nope. This was the finale. Only 6 episodes. Then we have to wait till June for another Marvel installment when Loki comes out. At least for the Marvel series. So we're going into Captain America, and really, and this episode really could have been entitled Captain America and the Winter Soldier, because right off the bat, Sam is in his new Captain America outfit in the very first battle. He looks sharp. It's almost a perfect representation of the comic book version of the second Captain America.
Yeah.
It's so true to the comic book, it's not even funny.
Someone did make a point out about how his armor is amazing to protect him, except for the top of his head is completely just left open. Because that's where his brain is. I'll leave that open. Can't be too powerful.
Right.
He's gonna have a weak spot somewhere, right?
He does end up getting his wings back because he got the new wings from Wakanda. Because, of course, Sam doesn't have super soldier serum in him, so he still needs an advantage more than just the shield and the armor. But the wings and still having Red Wing helps him out, because between his wings giving him the mobility in the air, his jetpack thrusters giving him additional push in certain combat maneuvers.
I love those moments where he uses his little thrusters to help him with a powerful punch or a kick. He just kind of launches himself at someone really fast. Those are great. I love
launch punches, yes. And then, of course, he has Red Wing. So that's great. But I did read in another place that his one buddy that he let keep the wings in the previous episode is going to probably be coming back as a wingman.
Yeah.
In the comic book. In the comic book it did, and they do have plans to do that in the cinematic universe, from what I understand. So that's something to look forward to. we've got so much to look forward to. We've got so many reveals in this episode, and we didn't say it before. Whenever we come into these TV show ones, spoilers, guys. We're not holding back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We didn't say it, but it should be a known thing by now. This is spoiler territory. This is spoiler territory because so much is revealed and pushed. Finally, U.S. agent gets called U.S. agent.
Yep.
And he gets his
at the very end of the episode.
His black, red, and white uniform. So he's an agent for Contessa. What's her name? Who played by Julia Dreyfus.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's actually a member of Hydra. She's not Lady Hydra. I think she's supposed to be part of Leviathan. The Marvel version of Leviathan, which was a competing group with Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the day.
Yeah.
Now that Hydra has become mostly defunct, Leviathan is coming to the fore, I think. So she's more of a Leviathan agent, if they keep with the comic books. So, but who knows? They might rewrite it so that she's that. She could be somebody. She could be a Skrull for all we know. But we get that, and then we find out who the power broker really is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the power broker is Sharon Carter, Agent 13, and because of Sam, she's got her government credentials back, and she's an agent again. So as the power broker, she now has access to brand new government tech that they'll issue her as one of their agents. Oh my God, is she playing both sides of the middle or what?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It's hard to believe that somebody descendant of Peggy Carter would come out and do that. And there's a bunch of talk online about whether old Captain America might show up in his old man form and set her straight, or something of that nature further on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that's the main cliffhanger that they leave you on, because they stopped the flag burners or whatever they're called.
Flag smashers, yeah.
Flag smashers, yeah. They stopped the flag smashers. The Sharon actually ends up killing the main flag smasher, partly because she knows that she's the power broker. She also kills that other guy that was after Sam because he knew she was the power broker.
Yeah, Pierre.
So she covers her tracks, but it looks like she's just doing her duty and helping out. And
it was interesting though, like when Falcon or Captain America, I guess, when Sam was fighting against Carly, he wasn't really fighting her. He was just holding up his defense, holding up his shield, while she would try to wail on him and was demanding that he fight her.
Well, that's because he still moralistically believes in a lot of her cause. He just doesn't believe in the way she's going about implementing it. And that's where Sam shows he's a superior individual. And at the end of the episode, even though Sam's in his full red, white, and blue regalia as Captain America, and he's being thanked by the senators on the committee and stuff, he basically gets in their face and says, "Look, no. If you're going to keep doing things this way, you're going to get more people rising up like these guys."
Yeah,
and you're just going to
you don't want to deal with a Carly 2.0.
And you're just going to perpetuate the negativity when you are the only ones here that have the power to make real change, and you are responsible for doing it. And he actually turns it around and makes it to where even the one old guy, the old black guy that had the super soldier serum, who had originally said no self-respecting black man would wear that Captain America thing. He even turned him around and put tears in his eyes. And then, of course, he also opened up a wing in the Smithsonian Captain America exhibit specifically to honor him.
Yeah.
But
people would remember the sacrifices made by Isaiah being tested on and getting the serum.
Isaiah, yeah, that's his name. And then, of course, Isaiah's grandson, if you follow the Young Avengers, he was one of the founding members of the Young Avengers.
Oh, yeah.
So there. Excuse me, I gotta mute myself. Go on.
Okay. I didn't realize that Isaiah's grandson was a founding member of the Young Avengers. I wonder if they're going to try to do anything about that with the newer games. Because, if he got the serum before having kids, it's possible that his grandson has some element of the super serum in him from a couple generations later. I think also some of the other really great parts, one of my favorite moments of the show was when Bucky was being thanked. When the guy's like, "Thank you for saving our lives," to Bucky, and like grabbed his hand or whatever. You can see the shock in Bucky's face because he's not used to being thanked for saving people's lives. He's a killer or was a killer. And so that was also someone like an officer or a soldier somewhere, recognized him and addressed him as Sergeant Barnes, by his rank and title, whatever. So that was also like nice touches to like helping with him. And at the end of the episode, though, I have to say, because a lot of the story of this, as much as it was about Sam becoming Captain America, it was also about Bucky becoming Sergeant Barnes again and not being the Winter Soldier. And I feel like by the end of this episode, he was Sergeant Barnes, right? So at the end, they gave us that little title change where they had Falcon and the Winter Soldier across the screen, and it changed to saying, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I was kind of feeling like, almost feels like you should be titling that Captain America and Sergeant Barnes, because it was as much his story of becoming someone, becoming who he's supposed to be as well. That was a big point, is he doesn't want to be the Winter Soldier anymore. And it even came down to him going to Bucky went to the first episode, or first or second episode, we were introduced to this older
Asian
man
guy.
This older Asian man who is upset about his grandson being missing or whatever. And Bucky was hanging around him, but couldn't admit to him that he killed his grandson.
And he stops by there like once a week.
Yeah, he stops by there once a week to have dinner with them or whatever. And Bucky finally went to his home, and he told him the truth. And he told him, he's like, I know what happened to your son. He was murdered by the Winter Soldier when I was the Winter Soldier, and the Winter Soldier was me, or something like that. But then the camera kind of cuts away, so we don't actually get to see the rest of that interaction.
So we don't know what his reaction is. Yeah,
we don't really know what his reaction was, but I still think, however his reaction was to that moment that got cut away, that it helps him, have some peace. And then shortly just after that, we see, a gift bag left on Bucky's therapist couch that has his book with all the names crossed out. Yeah. He had a list of names for people he needed to make amends for, and he'd finished his list. And so I really liked it. I was expecting 9 or 10 episodes out of it, and I would have liked to have had 9 or 10 episodes, but I definitely am of the mind of, you make a movie or you make a show exactly as long as it needs to be and not anymore. So if they had 6 episodes worth of story to tell, then they needed to, stick with that and not stretch it out artificially for no reason,
Yeah,
and so
and they did finish the Flag Smasher storyline, because at the end all the Flag Smashers got killed. Because there's an explosion of the transport vehicle.
Yeah.
And everything. So
yeah. So most of them were dead. There was some that were still alive, and then Zemo arranged to have the ones that were still alive murdered with a car bomb while they're being transported. Zemo, from within the raft, locked up in one of the most secure prisons in the world, while locked up, was able to arrange to have the last of the Flag Smashers bombed to death. While they were being, in a police escort. It's kind of wild. And
right
then,
after just having revealed that one of the escorts was actually a sympathizer.
Yeah, that's true.
So they were probably right about to escape, but Zemo prevented that.
Yeah, I was absolutely expecting them to escape there because of the officer who was like closing the doors. He's like, what was their little tagline? It was like "One world, one people."
Yeah, something like that.
So I was like, oh shit, they're about to escape because their patrol vehicle driver is a supporter, but then their whole vehicle gets blown up. So it didn't, I guess what that does for us is like, oh, they Zemo murdered a random cop. No, he murdered a supporter of the Flag Smashers.
And it's also bait and switch because at first we think they're going to get away, and then we find out they don't.
Yeah, we think they're going to get away. We think the explosion might have been one of the other vehicles of that little trail. Nope, it was them. Just killed them.
They dangle that escape right in front of us like a little carrot, and then yank it out of our way before we can grab it.
Yeah,
yep.
it was clever. It was definitely clever. You have to give that's something that they've done now with both WandaVision and this show. They give you an expectation of where you think you know what's about to happen, and then bam, change it on your last second.
Okay, we've got about 4 minutes left of the show. We have not covered Mortal Kombat, but you know what? Because I'm not feeling great this week, because we're almost done, let's hold off and do Mortal Kombat next week since we don't have a whole lot to cover next week.
Okay. What we'll do, for Mortal Kombat, I do want to just say one thing. No spoiler stuff for Mortal Kombat. I just want to say Mortal Kombat, just a quick thought on it. Everyone that wants to watch Mortal Kombat should know, or has a mild interest even, should know that this movie does not take place during the tournament of Mortal Kombat. It's like a prequel story that takes place before the first tournament of the first game happens.
Well, yeah, it's the they've had the 9th tournament. They're going into the 10th tournament, and this is basically the bad guys cheating and trying to get everybody killed off before the tournament starts, so they can break the tournament rules.
Yes, going in knowing
that doesn't spoil anything. I don't think.
Yeah, that's not really a spoiler, and I think going into the movie knowing that will help anyone enjoy the movie more, because as someone who's a huge Mortal Kombat fan that's played all the games, even the crappy ones, like Mortal Kombat Special Forces, and who knows the lore quite well, I was frustrated while watching the movie. As much as I was loving the action, it was really cool fighting, it was really cool looking movie, but I was getting frustrated by there not actually being a tournament in this movie. I was like, we are, 75 minutes into this film and the tournament hasn't even started. What is going on here? And it's because this is not about the tournament. This is about Shang Tsung trying to cheat and eliminate the opponents before the tournament begins. So, if this movie is successful enough and it gets a sequel, the planned sequel is then the tournament itself.
And this one was more of an origin story movie.
It showed the origins of the characters and how they develop their abilities and things like that.
How Jax gets his mechanical arms. How Scorpion.
How Sonya Blade gets her little, rings that come out of her fist that we didn't have in the other movies, but was in the video game.
Yeah. How Scorpion develops his hellfire powers, and how he develops his enmity with Sub-Zero.
Yeah. It does introduce a new character named Cole Young, who's never been in any of the video games. So knowing that knowing that, expecting that also I think will be helpful. Because I was like, who the hell is this Cole guy? Liu Kang is not the main character. Liu Kang's in the movie, but he's not the main character.
And it does tell us at the end, this is a tiny bit of a spoiler, but it does give us a premonition of the fact that Cage will be in the sequel, Johnny Cage, because while they get prepared for the tournament that still hasn't happened, one of the fighters heads to Hollywood. Specifically as he passes by a poster with one of Cage's movies, because Cage is a big movie actor.
Yeah, doesn't show his face because they haven't cast who Johnny Cage is going to be yet.
No, but pretty good bet that Mortal Kombat 2, whatever the subtitle is, will have Johnny Cage, and it will bring in a few of the other. Obviously, it's going to have to bring in a few of the other Warrior characters, especially on the bad guys' side, because, well, they lost the confrontation. But then again, part of them have at least one foot in hell anyway, so they can always come back.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the Mortal Kombat franchise, especially when it comes to the villains, is death often is not forever.
Right. But,
so
we'll talk more about this next week. It was a great movie. First off, let's put that out on the table. It's a great movie, but it's not the movie everybody expected because it's not the tournament.
Yeah.
If you went in there expecting the tournament, you're going to be disappointed. If you go in there expecting a great origin story and character development, then you're going to be pretty happy. It's just not the tournament yet. It's the prequel to the tournament, and next movie will be the tournament. Hopefully. Yeah. Unless they want to stretch it out even further. But I think next movie will be the 10th tournament for the fate of Earth.
Yeah.
But all around, amazing visuals, amazing fight scenes.
The best Mortal Kombat movie we got, the best live-action Mortal Kombat movie we got.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than the other two movies.
It definitely blows Annihilation out of the water. And the first one, although the first one was okay, this one clips the wings of the first one too. It's much better. It does justice to the franchise. And when it comes to fighting games, probably the most recognizable fighting game franchise out there is either Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. It's kind of a toss-up between those two because Street Fighter came around first. But Mortal Kombat's probably bigger. And so even non-gamers have heard of Mortal Kombat, not necessarily heard of Street Fighter. And so they really had to give it a new overhaul. And this was a worthy overhaul.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the tournament in the future. They're trying, of course, like with everything else in Hollywood right now, they're trying to build new franchises. Because obviously, a good franchise can work. Marvel franchise, killing it. Fast and Furious franchise, killing it. There are some franchises that can just work, and they're hoping to cash in on one of the video game franchises that actually has a chance to work better than the other previous attempts at video game franchises. Because as much as I love the Resident Evil movies, as a franchise, it's not as profitable as it should have been. They've reset Tomb Raider at least once. They haven't tried to go back to Street Fighter yet. There's a few attempts in the future expected. But this is going to be the one that shows whether they can actually do it or not as a franchise. And from what we're seeing, it looks like they're probably going to do a pretty good job. But anyway, we're here every Wednesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sometimes we go much later. I've been sick for the last several days, so we're not going late today. Especially since I really want to be a big part of the Mortal Kombat conversation, and I I keep having to mute my microphone because I have coughing fits. Sometimes I forget to mute my microphone, I guess. But so we'll catch you guys all here next week, barring any complications like internet problems or too many of us being sick or what have you.
Yeah.
You can find us at our own individual channels. This one is my channel. I've been taking a break from my gaming on my channel too because of being sick. So I've not been out. So I'm not going to tell you when you'll see me next on there because I'm not sure when I'll feel up to it. But Lurch, you can find over at Left Claw Studios. Him and his partner Angel are there like 5 days a week individually, and then like 1 day a week they actually get together and both play, and that's Sunday. So there's a mixed bag there. And Thursdays now you can catch Greg on Queen City Cardboard playing different story games lately. He's been doing a lot of the story game kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun if you catch him playing it. I usually log in for an hour or so every Thursday just to say hi. Even though I say hi and then I'm pretty quiet and just kind of watch. But you can always reach us there. You can also message us on the Eclectic Endeavors or the Game Expo pages on Facebook. And if you have a topic you want to hear about in the nerdy atmosphere, let us know, and we'll do our best to try to find one of the three of us to cover it, or who knows, maybe we'll invite you on as a special guest and you can cover it. We have had special guests in the past, and we're hoping to have that in the future. The next few days, this one will be up on YouTube, on my YouTube page in the Game Time folder. So if you go to the Game Time playlist, you should see all this and all previous episodes. Some of them are cut in like two because there was a hiccup in between the broadcast. So just to prepare you for that. But that's one of the reasons we don't play any background music or anything during the show, is to make sure we don't get any DMCA violations. The only thing we play is stuff that we're allowed to play, like advertisements for the games we're reviewing and stills.
I was going to say, some companies you have to be careful with, even with that. Capcom and Bandai Namco will still copyright strike you if you show their trailers on your channel.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's if you show like less than like 7 minutes, you're usually okay. But it depends on how strict they're being at any given time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're real careful about that because we want you to be able to go in, because we know not everybody can meet on our time frame. And the only other thing is, I mentioned it earlier in the show, third Wednesday of every month, instead of having him here with us, Greg will be over at Holdfast Brewing Company, enjoying some of their fine microbrews and playing some excellent games. I think I saw on your list last week, Action Cats was there, Exploding Kittens, Skulls.
They've also started doing a puzzle night on the same night that I'm running games at the brewery. They're having puzzle competitions. One of their employees goes and gets a bunch of like 100-piece jigsaw puzzles, wraps them so the players can't tell which is which, and people get into groups of get into teams, 2 to 4, 2 to 6 people, and everybody who participates picks a puzzle. Somebody starts the clock, and everybody unwraps their puzzles, and whoever finishes their puzzle first gets a like $20 credit to the bar.
Nice. Some more ways to interact. The mask ordinance in town has been lifted finally. That doesn't mean everybody should rush out and immediately start hugging and congregating in huge groups or anything, but it means you can start getting your toes wet maybe a little bit. So if you got an idea that you want to try to do that, maybe you'll want to stop by Holdfast Brewing Company and say hi to Greg. And you can always tell Greg, if you don't want to send us a message, tell Greg if you've got a topic you'd like to hear about on the show. And tell us that you watched the show and you like it, because a lot of times you might not want to interrupt us while we're talking, and we understand that. But we do encourage people to talk in the chat about our topics, because we'll answer questions if we've got the answer, and we'll look stuff up.
Please do. We'll go on forever. Otherwise.
And literally, we will go on forever, and we have to actually physically stop ourselves. And that's what I'm going to do right now, because otherwise I'm going to drone on and on and on and on. So we'll see you next week. Thank you for myself, my co-hosts.
Thank you. And Angel is currently streaming Pixelmon over on the Left Claw Studios channel at the moment.
Oh, cool.
So if anyone wants to join over there, maybe
great time.
Raid them over there.
Yep. So let me go ahead and set that raid up while we're at it. Let's see. Close the chat window there. Hit the raid button. And we want Left Claw Studios. So
I wore my Mortal Kombat shirt today.
Left Claw Studios looks like he's only got one person there right now. Set the raid. We've only got a couple people, so I don't know what we're going to end up doing. And a couple of them might just be us watching, is all it is. But we'll send them over to him, and here we go.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. I know I talked more than I thought I would.